students, today we'll just continue the next part of cyber ethics. Now we'll just start one topic about the intellectual property rights. Let us discuss it. Any kind of information is regarded as the intellectual property of the persons. I'm giving some example. Who has spent his or her time and effort in producing it. This information can be any type, maybe literacy, maybe artistic, maybe fictional, and in any format such as text message, symbols, audio, videos, etc. In case of violation of the rights, the real owner of the work does not get the desired returns of his or effort. Here the ethical issue is that you should not make a copy of the work or share its contents with others without author's permissions. You cannot do it. To check theft of intellectual property, many laws known as the intellectual property rights have been introduced. Okay, intellectual property rights are a combination of copyright, trademarks and patents. You can use any one of them to protect your intellectual property. Next we'll discuss about the plagiarism. What is this? It is the act of using another person's literacy work, whether oral or written, and passing it as your own without giving credit to the original creator. It is considered as intellectual theft and is punishable offense. Plagiarism may be unintentional or intentional. It is a severe violations of academic rights and an unethical practice, as it involves stealing others' ideas and using their hard work to one's gain and fame. So some different plagiarisms are there, but I am discussing few of those parts. One is direct plagiarism. What is this? Done with the express intent of stealing. It involves passing another's works as one's own intentionally. One example I am giving you. Suppose a student is stealing another student's note to pass in exam. That is called direct plagiarism. Paraphrasing. It involves changing a few words and altering the sentence structure a little so as to escape being caught by a plagiarism checker, tools or software. Okay, it is as serious an offense as direct plagiarism as it done by the deliberate intent and not by accident. Another one is the patchwork paraphrasing. It is similar to the paraphrasing, except that here ideas or content are stolen from the source. Patchwork paraphrasing is very popular in the academic world, and if done smartly, this form of plagiarism is sometimes difficult to detect also. Mosaic plagiarism. In this type of plagiarism, a person uses another's content in his or her work without using quotation mark. It also involves replacing words with their synonyms without making much alterations to the structure or general idea of the structure. This kind of paraphrasing is also considered as a dishonest act and punishable by law. Accidental plagiarism. Sometimes you may forget or just neglect to cite sources of the content taken from the internet or other books, misquotes their source, and unintentionally paraphrase the original content. This may be unplanned and accidental on your part. Self-plagiarism. In this form, the plagiarism, a writer takes the content from his or her own earlier work without citing that the work has also been used previously. A common case of the self-plagiarism is students submitting the same paper for 2 assignments or for 2 courses without the consent of the concerned teachers. That is a self-plagiarism. Next we'll discuss about the digital property rights. What is this? It means just to the data in any form owned by the individual, which is stored in an electronic or digital format. Digital assets. What is this? It includes data stored in storage device such as hard disk, pen drive, or online accounts such as emails, photos, or videos stored in the cloud such as Google Plus. Informations that you posted on social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, your website, domain or blogs, business dictionary listings, etc. You can store your digital property on your computer's hard drive or a removable storage devices, or even on a remote server or cloud from where you can access your files as and when required. Okay, so common threats let us discuss to the digital property are as follows. What are the, you see the board. Using of the penetration tools by hackers to gain unauthorized access of the software without making any payment. Plagiarizing or stealing the source code of someone's else software applications and then either using it in their own software applications and selling the software publicly with the own, that is the proprietorship. Okay, next we'll discuss about the digital divide. What is this? The accessibility and the inaccessibility of information and communication technology, which is known as ICT, have created a gap between the members of society who do not have access to ICT and members who have access to such as technologies. This gap is referred to as digital divide. You can also explain the digital divide as an uneven distribution of the ICT in your society on the basis of the social and economical criteria. There are various causes of digital divide which are as follows. I am telling you. First one is age. Age difference is one of the cause of the digital divide. As compared to the older persons, the young people easily adopt the IT technologies and are more ready to use it. Low literacy rate. Low literacy rate is another reasons for the digital divide. As per the census 2011, the total literacy rate in the India was 74.04%, where the male literacy rate is 82.14%, and the female literacy rate is 65.46%. So the literacy rate is going upwards in India, but when we compare the literacy rate of urban as rural areas, there is a big difference. So the difference in the literacy rate creates a digital divide. Language. In India, most people speak local language based on their different regions. Okay, regions. That means different areas. They do not speak the English language. In today's scenario, most IT technologies are based on the English language, and to work with these technologies, people require at least some basic knowledge of English language. Access technologies. As compared to urban areas, technological development is much lesser in rural areas. This creates a barrier in the access of the ICT resource and creates a digital divide. Economical factors, take another one. Some people cannot afford the cost of the technology, means hardware and software. The economical background is also a reason for the digital divide in a society. Okay. Next we'll discuss about the software license. Software license is a legal document that contains the legal guidelines regarding the use and distribution of the software by an individual, group or company. Generally, the software license terms and conditions include the limitations of liability, warranties, disclaimers, proper and correct use of the software, and duration of the service. Software are broadly divided into two categories. One is proprietary software and one is free and open software. What is proprietary software? It means with the license to use the software with certain conditions that restrict users to modify or distribute it. The distribution of the proprietary software can only be done at the software manufacturer's end. No, not for everybody. The proprietary software can only be installed and run on the computer after buying it under the license agreement. Otherwise, you cannot use it. But free and open software is what? It is freely available and can change the used copies distributed to anyone who wants to use the software. The user can study the source code of the software and then improve, modify and redistribute, that means to others. Okay, so some terms and distributions are there also for the distribution of the open software. A few I am discussing. Free redistributions. The license should not restrict parties to redistribute the software as a whole or a part of the larger software application, which may contain other programs from other sources. Source code. The program should contain source code and the source code as well as the compiled form should be allowed to be distributed. Integrity of the author's source code. The license can restrict the distribution of the modified form of the source code even when it permits the distributions of the patch file with the source code for the purpose of modifying the program at the time of the creations. Distribution of the license. The right associated with the program should apply to all those who have been redistributed the program without the need for the executions of additional license. License must not be specific to a product. The right associated with the program should not be dependent on being part of any special software distributions programs. License must not restrict other software. The license should not be restricted by other software applications that are distributed along with it. I hope students you understood all the terms whatever we have used here. Okay, so you read the chapter thoroughly and try to understand it. Next we'll discuss about the open source license. Open source license means what? Which that fulfill the definitions of open source. In short, you can say that open source license allow the software to be used, modified and distributed freely. These license allow users to contribute to the project without requiring any special permissions. This license also prevent others to claim their work. Okay. I hope students you understood this one. So read the book thoroughly, the notes, the video, whatever I have said, whatever I have prepared, you watch it thoroughly, and if you are having any doubt, you can ask me. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.